Craig Kimbrel is gone. AJ Pollock is a member of the Chicago White Sox. Garrett Crochet is going under the knife, and Lynn is hurting. All that and more as opening day is fast approaching.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On White Sox. Thank you so much for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Sox. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. Folks, I am your host, Nick Morawski. I am a lifelong, multi-generational, diehard Sox fan. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Boy, it is a real treat to be with you. This is my first Locked On White Sox episode. You've been able to hear me on another White Sox podcast, Good Guys Talk Back. And it's been a pleasure running that podcast for the last 3.5 seasons. I want to thank Sean Anderson, Herb Lawrence, Chris Tannehill for so many great episodes and so much great work that they did on this Locked On White Sox podcast. Got some big shoes to fill, but I really appreciate you folks joining me, letting me steal some of your time to talk White Sox. What a fun team this is. We're going to talk about a lot of different areas in this episode in this week as we head into opening day. I want to start getting into the upcoming schedule a little bit, particularly some of the promotions. Want to talk pitching. Of course, there's been some decisions made and some things that are, need to be made with this White Sox pitching staff, both bullpen and starting pitching. But really, the big news, of course, is the White Sox finally have a natural outfielder, a veteran outfielder in AJ Pollock. That boy, it makes an absolute difference on this White Sox team. So let's get into some of that. State of the Sox, folks. There are just a few games left in spring training. Tuesday is the last day of action, and then a couple days before opening day in Detroit. That's a day game. The Sox are sitting around 500. It's a big move was made today. If you were following, Zach Collins was traded to the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to talk more player moves later this week. So I'm not going to get too much into that. Definitely have some thoughts on Zach Collins leaving the White Sox organization. But really the big move is Craig Kimbrel being traded to the LA Dodgers for outfielder AJ Pollock. Sox actually save a little bit of money in the deal, and the Sox payroll sitting around $192 million right now. So let's get into AJ Pollock. This is a guy who has been on the Dodgers, been on the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's 34 years old. He's a veteran outfielder. Last year, he had a pretty good year in 2021 in 117 games. Batted his slash lines were 397, 355, and 536, 27 doubles, a career tying 21 home runs, 69 RBIs, 53 runs scored, and 9 stolen bases. Very good numbers for a career. He hits 281, 338, 482, and that's 10 seasons with Arizona and the LA Dodgers. Now, AJ Pollock, he's going to play right field for the White Sox, but he has been primarily a left fielder, center field guy. Very little time in right field. In 2021, Pollock played in 103 games in left field and 8 in center field. He's got playoff experience, as we mentioned. He was part of that 2020 Dodgers championship team and had some great numbers for LA last year in the postseason. Was reading a little bit, on what AJ Pollock, said about this trade, because I find it fascinating, just the art of a trade. Here's a guy that's, gotten to know the organization in LA, a veteran. He's 34 years old. He's not a young guy. He's not a young, prospect. And he gets moved from the West Coast, from the National League to the Midwest, to Chicago and the American League. And it's interesting that, the Dodgers and the White Sox share the same facility in Glendale. And I was reading a little bit about what AJ Pollock had said, and this comes from James Fegan from The Athletic. And his comments on getting traded, AJ Pollock said, "It's a cool team to be part of course, talking about the White Sox. And when asked about what does he feel about playing right field, AJ Pollock said, just get a couple reps under my belt and I'll be good. No big deal. And on the shortened spring, he said, I feel good. Spring training is too long for me anyway. We should do this every year." So why is this such a big deal? We're about a week removed from when Andrew Vaughn hurt himself in right field, making a diving catch. And it was great seeing him back in the lineup in the Sunday game, swinging the bat. And, White Sox Twitter fan base, folks were texting other fans, family members, friends. We talked about it on the Good Guys Talk Back podcast. Here's a guy in Andrew Vaughn that's a lifelong first baseman, being asked to play in a variety of positions last year for the Sox for needs, just because. And, he's making a baseball play and he gets hurt. And, Andrew Vaughn's on the White Sox because of his bat. But he's been asked to do a lot of different things because, the organization has not, up until this point, gone out and gotten certain guys, filled certain holes that they know are blind spots. So here this organization is trying to force a natural first baseman to play out there in right field. And no more. That's why this deal was so big. And we'll talk a little bit more on Craig Kimbrel in a bit. But, I want to rattle off some of your starting right fielders. Some of these guys in 2021, Adam Eaton was your starting right fielder on opening day. In 2020, it was Nicky Delmonico. And then we saw a lot of Nomar Mazara. In 2019, Daniel Polka. And then in 2018 and 2017, Avi Garcia were your starting right fielder in an opening day. And then, of course, going back to 2016, the last great year before the rebuild, Adam Eaton was there starting opening day. So what about guys like Engel and Garcia? Why can't they perhaps play in right field? Why would it have been a problem if they started in right field? And it might have been just fine. You're probably going to see some of Adam Engel, and Garcia, we know, can play a lot of different positions. But in the last 5 years, Engel has started in right field only 35 times, started 140 games in 2018 in center field, only played in 39 games in 2021. And in 5 years, he's only played in over 100 games once. So obviously some injury issues from Adam Engel. And Garcia in right field in 9 seasons, Garcia has started 107 games in right field. In 2019, he started 120 games in the outfield. 45 of them were in right field. So those guys can be plugged into right field. Garcia has played a variety of different positions, as you know. Engel, I think there's a lot of fans that want to see Engel out there. He can play. For me personally, it reminds me of Aaron Rowan. And his bat has started to get going. It's just a matter of staying healthy and staying on the field. And if you can't stay on the field, you're no good to us. And so this deal is made to get AJ Pollock, and it just we've gone outside of the organization, which is something, of course, that I think tongue in cheek, Tony La Russa had mentioned is maybe something that we weren't going to do. Options were inside. But they make a move, the White Sox do, for a natural outfielder. He's played a couple of games in spring training, and it's a huge deal because we've been lacking a veteran guy that has got experience and that can put up offensive numbers, especially against righties. So the outfield, is looking kind of complete, but the starting pitching and bullpen needs some work. More on that in just a moment. Hey, betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including this week's Masters Championship, odds, podcasts, and reviews for all the different leagues this season. BetOnline is your continued source for your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Head to the website today to use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. And folks, I was picking through some of the BetOnline odds for your Chicago White Sox, and a lot of different players are featured, especially a guy like Luis Robert. So they've got over under on Luis Robert, total home runs in the 2022 season. The over under is at 30.5, and total RBIs in this coming regular season for Luis Robert, over under set at 95.5. So I'd go on that site and I'd make some bets myself, because I think both an over for home runs and RBIs for Luis Robert. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. Locked On MLB Prospects host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he goes deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can never have enough pitching. We talk about that quite a bit. You listen to the telecasts, and Steve Stone, of course, breaks down that in such a great way. We saw last year in the 2021 season with the amount of injuries that this team had, the pitching really kept things together. The starting pitching logged, a lot of innings. They took the ball, they head to the hill. And even if it wasn't some of the greatest outcomes by certain individuals, they took the ball. They stayed fairly healthy. The bullpen was not what we thought the bullpen was going to be. And the bullpen has been bolstered this offseason. But, there's been some losses most recently. So, Kimbrel gets traded to the Dodgers, and we like that. It gets rid of, $16 million off the books. We're going to talk in just a moment why Kimbrel was pretty much a lame duck in my eyes, and talking with a lot of Sox fans over the offseason. But now we get news of Garrett Crochet needing Tommy John surgery, and Lance Lynn this weekend dealing with a right knee issue. It's his push-off leg. He landed on the IL last season with right knee inflammation, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that more, this coming week as we lead into opening day. Crochet is the one that really stings. Here's a guy, in 2021, he was in 54 games, 54 innings with a 2.82 ERA. So a specialty guy. His velocity dropped a little bit last season from what we saw in 2020 during that shortened season when he came pretty much right out of the draft and started helping the Sox. What the idea for Crochet is going to be long-term, as I don't know. It's very confusing at this point. It looked like, he was going to be used out of the bullpen this season, maybe groomed to be in the starting rotation in 2023. And now he's lost for a whole year. And what does that do for the Sox bullpen? Well, that's a big left-handed arm out of the bullpen. I mean, Bummer, Souza, the only lefties coming out of the pen right now. Personally, I like to have some balance, with my bullpen, and we don't really have that right now. Crochet going down to Tommy John surgery is just a list of pitchers that in the Sox organization, present, past, have dealt with Tommy John, like guys like Kopech, Dunning, Lambert, Birdie. I'm sure I'm missing a few. I mean, in this era of max effort, it's almost a foregone conclusion. When there's a young guy throwing 98, 99, 100, maybe even, you can say he's got a bit of a funky motion. Crochet had a funky motion. So did Sale, but Sale was just a freak. That it's eventually going to happen. This guy's going to go under the knife. He can't handle it. Hey, it's over with. It's done. The Sox need some pitching. They need some more starting pitching in my mind. And they definitely need some more bullpen help. I know they've tried to make some moves this offseason. Graveman's a huge addition. You lose Kimbrel, and honestly, I feel like we lost Kimbrel back in November. To me, the Kimbrel move comes as no surprise. His inability to be effective in opportunities that were not the ninth inning. We've talked about this as fans. You've talked about it. It's been all over social media. It's frustrating. We did not get out of Kimbrel what we wanted. He kind of had a rough year to begin with. He was in spots that maybe he just flat out, he's never been in before. Now, on one side, you could say, well, a closer is a bullpen guy is a bullpen guy. A closer should be able to get in there in custom situations in the seventh and eighth, and maybe not. Being a closer, coming out of the bullpen when there are guys on in a tight situation, that's a mental game. That's a very different style than you would say for a starting pitcher. I mean, that much is obvious. Now, in this era where there are these craft moments of arms, you got a seventh inning guy that bridges to the 8 and 9 and setup guys. These guys might get so used to this role that they can't do anything else. I don't know. But, Rick Hahn, who he doesn't show his cards very often. Rick Hahn had some comments back in November after this season was shortened. And this is what Hahn said on November 9th. It's probably easier to project him, meaning Kimbrel, in that role where he's had that success rather than how he was used by us. He just wants to win and is willing to fulfill whatever role our club has in mind. It didn't work out the way we wanted last year, so perhaps there's a better use of his skills than how we're doing it. So we have to reconsider his usage with us versus a potential trade. I mean, those comments that were released in November, we picked those apart as Sox fans throughout the offseason. And I'm sorry, but when Hahn said that, very transparent, Kimbrel was good as gone. I didn't see him pitching in the 2022 regular season. It just was a matter of finding the right trade partner. The Dodgers needed a closer, and here we go. And we got a great return. Now we lose what Kimbrel was going to bring to us. Hendricks was very high on Kimbrel. I mean, it's a power arm. It's a future Hall of Fame arm. But if he can't do what we want him to do, what's the point of having him around? I don't know if you saw, but Kimbrel did debut for the Dodgers this past weekend. A third of an inning, a double, couple home runs, a single, a strikeout, gave up 4 runs, I believe, 4 earned runs in a third of an inning. I'm sure he'll figure it out. But I really like AJ Pollock in that return, but there's another hole now in our bullpen. Going to talk throughout this week. Pitching, starting pitching. Want to get into Keuchel. if you've, been following me and good guys talk back or, just following me on social media, my thoughts on Dallas Keuchel, as I'm sure a lot of people have similar thoughts. Sean Manaea, a guy that a lot of Sox fans wanted, fit left-handed pitcher. He kind of had the makeup of a South Side guy. He's headed to San Diego. The Padres, did the deal. I'm sure the Sox were involved. We just couldn't offer what San Diego was looking for. So, there's some other arms still out there. And I think over the next few days, Han's going to make a deal. I think there's going to be some more pitching coming. And, I want to talk about Lopez too, when we get into the pitching. He pitched in the Sunday spring training game, got roughed up. But I really, I like what I saw out of last year, and there's reasons for it. And whether we like it or not, we might have to be relying on Lopez quite a bit. So this coming week, as we lead up to opening day, definitely we'll be talking a lot about pitching and the options that we have and what to expect on this White Sox club. Want to talk upcoming regular season schedule and some of those promos. Going to do that in just a minute. This is the time of year here where, my resolution, my New Year's resolution, most people's New Year's resolutions are out the window, but I'm telling you, not this year, because I'm sticking to eating right is my resolution, thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not even really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, Puffs included, 100% real chocolate. Low cal, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They're even better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Go to built.com and scroll down to the chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how, but they pull it off every time. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED, LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. So want to talk schedule and promotions with you. This is the time of year where everybody is looking at the schedule and they're figuring out, am I going to go travel on the road? Where do I want to see the Sox? April, the Sox are all about the AL Central pretty much. It's one of the few months all season long where they're playing everybody in the AL Central. And sometimes, you want to wait it out to the summer, get to some of those maybe traditionally warmer climates. It could be, kind of a beach vacation or a getaway and see some baseball. Sox are going to be in San Francisco. They're going to be in San Diego. So taking a look at that schedule, figuring out some trips, I'm going to talk about this week. I've been to so many stadiums and have followed the White Sox in so many cities. I've got some of my recommendations. We'll be talking about that really all season long. Number one on my list this coming year is San Diego towards the end of the season. Have not been out there to see the Sox play the Padres. I've been to the city. It's absolutely wonderful, and I've heard nothing but good things about that experience. So, it's something I like to do every single year, and it's great to just get back onto the road and, especially those National League series where we do not get to see those teams very often. And when it shows up on a schedule, you kind of want to take advantage of it. In terms of home games, I'm a season ticket holder. I'll be at the games. If I'm not at the games, I'm watching the games. I'm listening to the games. I'm hanging out in section 147 usually, but I love the stadium giveaways, and I'm a big bobblehead fan. We got the first one coming up Saturday, April 16th. We've got the Hendricks bobblehead. That's the first one. We got Tim Anderson, Eloy Robert combo bobblehead. Have you seen the picture of this? It's outstanding. Canerco, Captain America, Paul Canerco on July 4th, Grandal bobblehead. And one that's not a bobblehead, but it's pretty sweet, is the Southside hockey jersey. I believe it's April 30th. Those are coveted giveaway days for me, the bobbleheads, and I'll be standing in line, and it's a collect. I'm a collector at heart, and it goes back to years when they first started in the early 2000s, and that one with the Southside jersey, the Hendricks one, that'll be the first opportunity this year to get in line. Hopefully the weather's decent, and it'll be a good game against Tampa Bay coming in that weekend. So something I'd like to talk about as the season rolls on, just the schedule, who's traveling where, and the promotions, because they got a great list. And there's more. They always drop in more promotions as the season rolls on. You can find Locked On White Sox, Twitter, Instagram, at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. Next episode, we're going to be talking with some of the other hosts of Locked On. They're from around the AL Central. So Locked On Royals, Locked On Tigers, Locked On Twins, Locked On Guardians. Had an opportunity to talk with some of them about the upcoming season. You're not going to want to miss that. Also, you've made this show, which we appreciate, your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB with Paul Francis Sullivan, but please call him Sully, brings you his unique perspective on the Major League past and present. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Want to thank you folks so much for joining me for my first episode of Locked On White Sox. I'm Nick Morawski, and Locked On White Sox, your first listen each and every day. Until next time, go Sox.